the kneeler thing that your friend
Oh,
uses?
I didn't send it. Did you find it? See, I'm sorry, I totally forgot, until now. God.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Does anybody, do you know what that is? That Zen seat?
Isn't it a Japanese thing?
Yeah, but it's like Zeishin style or Zeijin.
It's the way,
Zen.
was it 2 boards?
Yeah,
So you're more in a kneeling position.
of course it didn't come up.
They did say the order people, I was like, oh, are we, because he briefs you first before like you go in, or the people, yeah. So you go in and they said they don't cross they keep like, they do some meditation there too, but they don't cross anything. They sit in the chair and keep it, because they want you to be like not tangled. Like,
To reach it, Laura?
yeah, like you're not allowed to cross,
right.
but they also do meditation there, and I said, oh, well, yeah, like this is like my spot, like this is where my foundation is, and we were kind of talking about it. And he said, yeah, I said, he was just talking about how they sit, and they said they never sit cross-legged, which, I mean, whatever. You
For
know.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
If you wanna
so this
sit
is
in the
this
chair.
is this is the thing. See, it's kind of like,
Oh.
it's just like a little seat, but your legs go underneath and you
Yeah.
sit down.
Yeah.
So like my buddy, he can't sit cross-legged, so he got one of these and sits with these. It's called SEIZA. Seiza meditation bench. Just type in meditation bench, you'll be able to find it.
Oh,
So it takes it all out of your hips, and
Yeah.
that's I think it's like a Zen kind of style of seat, but it really doesn't matter. It's just a way for your body to be less bitchy at you during your session, if that works for you. I think that's the word. I always remember him saying Zeijin, but it might not be called that. That might just be the brand of that one. But you'll just type in meditation bench. You can't miss it. All right. Ready? Set.
your watch.
Got 5 minutes till the timer.
It's about to go.
All right, so up tall. Just roll your shoulders up towards your ears and then on your back, like just to get the shoulder blades together. And then shoulders away from your ears. And draw the belly in very gently. Help you rise out a little back a little bit. Relax your face, your forehead, corners of the eyes, the eyelids. Corners of your mouth. Just start by stilling the body. So commit to the posture and try not to move for the next few minutes. then just open your awareness and take in all the sounds, temperature, just everything happening around you, without getting attached to any particular sound. Just try to take it all in as one sound, kind of like, as opposed to saying, like the car, just take in the environment, where a car is just one part of that environment. Try to make it holistic, all-inclusive. And bring your focus to your body while maintaining that awareness around you. So your main focus is just on sensations in the body, body on the ground. Just scan the body, but try to maintain awareness of sounds. They don't become your focus though. They just stay in the background, like your peripheral vision. And then put the body in the background with the sounds and environment. And then bring your focus to your breath. So just like your eyeballs when you're looking, you're focused on one thing. You still have this peripheral vision of what's happening around you, unless you're Abigail, whacking your head. Just kidding. But you have this peripheral vision. So try to do the same with the mind. So you have your focus on your breath, but you maintain an awareness of the body, the sounds, what's happening. And just notice when one of those sounds steals your focus, and then your focus goes to that and leaves the breath. And just use that opportunity to catch it and bring it back to breath, and put those sounds back in the background, your peripheral awareness. And try to become aware of what's going on in the mind now. So the thoughts, feelings. But use that and put that in the background as well, like your peripheral. And your focus stays on your breath. You anchor your mind there. And then this awareness will be your alarm system. So as long as you maintain the awareness, you'll be able to notice when the mind's gone. So it's the biggest tool that you need to learn as a meditator, is to be able to develop, they call Shishing, it's in Tibetan, which is just mindfulness. It's this ability to watch what the mind is doing. Without it, your mind could just wander from one thing to the next, and you just won't realize. And you'll be off your meditation object, and you're just daydreaming at that point. So focus on the object, the breath for right now. And just try to be aware of everything else at the same time. Thoughts, sounds, like everything is just lingering in your peripheral, but not stealing your focus. And then just notice how the mind, which of the two obstacles your mind's struggling from this evening? Is it your mind's dull, tired? Gross dullness is your mind's tired and you're like falling asleep. More subtle dullness is you're able to keep the mind still, but it's not clear. You don't have like a really intense focus. And then the other side of the coin is agitation. Gross agitation being the mind constantly wandering. More subtle form, that is the mind wanting to wander, just feeling that energy of the mind wanting to get up and leave even though you're focused. So most likely be one of the gross forms of mind wandering, restlessness, or tired. If it's restless, just keep bringing the mind back. Catching the mind, bringing it back. Catching the mind, bringing it back. If you're feeling particularly tired, the antidote for that is try to uplift the mind in some sense, brighten the mind. So a traditional form of that is bring the mind something bright like the sun, something like that, or something that you can bring your mind to for a brief moment, something that will make you feel uplifted. Maybe think about somebody you love or some place you love, and that will energize the mind a bit. And then not letting it become a distraction, bring your mind back to your object. A traditional antidote for agitation in the mind is if the mind is really rambunctious, then you can think about death, and that'll bring your mind right down. Think about how you don't have time to waste. You know, there's no guarantee you'll be here tonight. So what's the sense of thinking about and worrying about what's going to happen next week, next month? Just see if you can just basically just notice which of those two. But stay focused on breath as your anchor. Okay, let that go. Now, every meditation session you do, you should have this two forces going on: this mindfulness and your focus. So try to maintain that with whatever object is under the microscope of your mind. So we'll move to a more virtuous object. So we'll do a brief meditation on wisdom, because they're most powerful objects to transform the mind. So let's bring to mind somebody that you love, somebody you find as just being a great person, amazing person, just full of good qualities. And just visualize them. And just get a sense of what those qualities are that you see in them. And then think, does everybody see them the same way? Does everybody have the same experience with that person as I do? Or is it possible for somebody to find this person I love as as an irritating person, perhaps. Maybe just neutral. They can really, not really care too much about them one way or another. And then bring to mind somebody you feel neutral about. And think, is there people in this person's life that finds them as being as beautiful as you find the person you love? Or maybe there's somebody that finds them as just being their irritating person and can't stand being around them. Then bring to mind your irritating person. Is there somebody that finds them as pleasant? Someone that loves them, finds them as not irritating? This one's always going to be more resistant. The mind's going to resist this one much more than the others. So try to be as non-biased as possible and think there has to be somebody in this person's life that finds them as pleasant. Their partner, wife, husband, parent, child. And so just try to dig in and notice that these labels, these ways that we see these people are just merely labels, because not everybody sees them the same way. So the problem is that we think that that person is that way by themselves from their own side when you're around them. Like they're just radiating their greatness for the nice person, the person you love. They're just radiating some sort of beautiful quality. Or the irritating person is just radiating some sort of irritation, irritatingness. But if somebody can see them in completely the opposite way, then it has to say something about that person that contradicts the way that you see them, and it can't be coming from them. So just analyze that. Think about if the person was coming from, if the quality was coming from the person, then the other person would have to find them the same way. Everybody would have to see them the same exact way as I do. And try to get to the truth of that. If the irritating person was truly irritating from their own side coming at me, then everybody would have to see them the same way, because that's who they were. And so the product of an emptiness meditation like this should be the realization that the thing that you thought was there is not there the way you thought it was. The irritating person you thought was out there coming at you, it can't be out there coming at you because not everybody sees them the same way. So it has to be coming from our minds. Something in my mind is different than someone else's mind that perceives them in a different way. Their qualities are dependent upon my mind. So then the cash out of the emptiness meditation is, what happens when you remove that quality, that label coming from your mind? Like remove that label. What's left out there? What happens to the beautiful person or the irritating person when you remove the label for irritating person or beautiful person? And then try to rest in that. So in wisdom meditations, emptiness meditations, you're analyzing some problem, ignorance about how we perceive the world, and then the realization that you gather from the analyzation, you want to try to rest in it. Like you make it, you use your analytical mind, you think about it, and then you say, okay, well, what's left when I remove the label of irritating person? What's left out there? And you should feel a lack of something missing. And try to rest your mind in that place until you lose it, and then start over. Think about it again. What's left out there when I remove the label? And rest in that realization. So you should come to the conclusion that these labels that I'm giving the people around me, the people I love, the people I find neutral, people I find as irritating, are dependent upon my mind. Seeds in my mind are going off. And I'm projecting them out there onto them. And there is no qualities of a person until I give them the qualities. So if I change the seeds in my mind, then I will literally change my perception of the people around me, which is what it means for the people to exist in that way around you. It's just merely perception, a label, a seed arising that you're being forced to perceive them in a certain way. So let's just combine this with a little refuge meditation. So think about your irritating person again, and think about the next time you'll be around them. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. And just see yourself entering the situation where they're around you, and they start doing that thing that they always do that irritates you, that rubs you in the wrong way. And then practice bringing the mind this analyzation. The idea that not everybody sees them the same way. So the way that I'm perceiving this person right now and the way they truly are in direct conflict. Because I'm seeing them as coming at me, not from me. So kind of like try to train, like practice for the race that'll happen when they're around you. And just see yourself bringing to mind this analyzation quickly. Thinking about, it has to be a label coming from me. And then from that realization, you realize that you shouldn't. The last thing you should do is react back in a negative way, because that's just going to recreate the seeds that brought them here in the first place. So only wisdom can stop you from ultimately yelling back. You can't be angry at an irritating person that you created. So just see yourself acting in a different way. Acting with wisdom out of wisdom. And whatever you're doing, not reacting negatively back. And trying to realize that as best you can, that it's a label coming from me. They don't have this quality in them. And then just dedicate efforts of doing this meditation to achieving the goals, achieving enlightenment for the sake of all beings, so you can help other people realize this. Just dedicate all the efforts. And then come back to breath. Take 3 breaths. And after you're done, come out. All right. Anybody have any questions about that? Has that become somewhat familiar at this point? I hope. Yeah? All right.
Mhm.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just thinking of the guy in the car in traffic.
Oh,
That screaming at me. And I was like, I did this.
which probably irritated him more, right?
Probably. He was like, it was crazy. You could tell it wasn't me. Something was going on with him.
Right.
I was just like, for like a slight second, there was like a moment where I was like, wow, dude, what is your problem? Like, I was like, and I'm like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it yesterday. I was on a job. I do drone like video stuff.
Oh, cool.
So we were at like a dealership shooting some stuff, and this guy comes over, or I'm flying with my buddy. He helps me fly, and he's just like staring at me, and he's like obviously irritated. And I was like, "Is there a problem?" He's like, "I don't know. Is there a problem?" And like,
Right.
I was like, "What do you mean? Is there a problem?" Like, and I got in this like bickering match, and like the whole time I'm doing it, I know better,
Yeah.
but like I'm still doing it, and I'm irritating him more, and I'm like, "Oh my god," But it's funny because it's like it's so habituated. It's the problem. You're so habituated to doing that. So even if you get, for me, that's what it's become. It's not so much that I've stopped myself completely or nearly completely. It's just I have more mindfulness that I'm doing it wrong when I'm doing it. Before I had no idea that I was doing it wrong. But the more I practice, the more I'm like more aware that I shouldn't be doing it, even though I'm doing it. Eventually that'll lead to, okay, I'm not going to do it at all. And some days are worse than others, of course. But the more you practice, the more you meditate on it, because it's those habits. Because that's one of the ripenings of karma is that you have the habit. So every time you've done it in the past, you create the habit to do it again in the future. So it's caused. All these habits, all these patterns that we have are just caused, and the causes are doing them before, in a sense. So if you want to break those patterns, you just got to start creating different causes for it. Try to like interject. It's like one example the Lumber uses a lot is like sticking your arm in the elevator door before it shuts, almost. So okay, right before it shuts, before it's too late, and before you're just yelling back, blah, and you get in there and you're like, irritating person thing, remember that? And you're just like blah 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 blah, right? So eventually you get a little bit more of this wisdom in it. You can pull the door up and you're like, no, I'm not closing.
It was crazy because I just walked in like a little bit late, and I was in my car and I had it. And there was a mosquito went on me, and I went like this, and he fell, and I'm like, and I put him out the window, but it was literally, and I was on my way here, and I'm like, what? And then I walked in, and the first thing you said was, like if a mosquito bites you, it's because of your negative talk. I'm like, I'm talking shit at work. Because my boss talks crap on everyone, and sometimes it's hard to not sometimes partake.
It depends on how you see the mosquito, of course, but you have to figure out what it is that mosquitoes do for you. For me, they don't bother me actually. I don't itch from them. I don't get bumps. They're just like, really? Come on, dude. Like I get sick from you. It's like, and they're everywhere. So I'm like tormented by them, I think is what it is. It's like, I feel like I'm being attacked all the time. So it's kind of like, okay, where in my life am I like attacking, having that. And it seems almost like really, like by me attacking people, I'm gonna have mosquitoes like flying after me, But if you understand, if you understand, karma and how the mind works, then it has to work that way. you're putting an imprint in your mind, then you're being forced to perceive these things around you and relate to them. Certainly, some people might like mosquitoes. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
Something.
Maybe someone that studies mosquitoes for a living. Maybe
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I don't know. I mean, it's probably like such a karma that we have in this world that those things are just more of a nuisance to everybody, you know. I'm sure a mosquito likes himself or herself.
Yeah.
They need to eat.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the mosquito's child might like her, you know. Do they mate?
They have to.
Yeah. I'm sure they're like, oh my God, you're so irritating. Here, let's mate, you know, like. But yeah, so yeah, it's hard, but it's practice. That's why it's practice.
There's such a habit too.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, it was good all week. No ants, no nothing.
Yeah.
My grandson and his little friend, they're 2 years old, and they were stamping on ants today. I'm like, no, poor ants, no. And my grandson, poor ants.
Oh,
I'm like,
you're gonna get your car for that
I'm like, you
later.
would be good Buddhists.
It's funny, the first time I went and seen a talk by Lama, it was like the first introduction I had to this. I just had a flashback in my mind because he was talking about karma when I was doing, like I used to burn them with a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
And I brought that question up to him. I was like, you know, like, well, what about that? I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? But it was just, that
But
was
you
like
said
for
your
me.
karma's still 6, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm
I used
seeing
to pull
myself,
salt on
you know, doing it in the past like it was no problem of some sort. And I think a little bit to blame our society that, you know, you're not taught that.
upbringing, yeah.
It's kind of like they're pests. So let's just get rid of them.
Right.
Get them out of my garden, get them out of my house. You know? So,
And a
yeah.
spider might stay in my car today. Right there, I'm like, hey.
Spiders never bother.
Yeah.
It's tough when you get to those type things, you know, the things that we've just programmed our whole lives to think they're just to get rid of them, and to get rid of them, you kill them.
Flies.
Flies, yeah.
Yeah. Swallow.
How about if you just let your dog get them?
Well, so they're collecting, you know, you're allowing them to collect, which is even, you would collect double the karma
Oh,
because you're allowing another being to, there's a question like that, like what about like, you know, paying, you know, you're paying taxes to support a war where other people are on the front line killing other people, you know, do you get that karma from that? And they say you get double the karma because without your money, they would not be there able to kill and to collect that negative karma on their own.
Yeah, we tell the government that.
Yeah, I'm not paying my taxes.
You know, that's big harm.
So we're already in this broken thing is the problem. It's already broken. Like, so you just try your best, you know? I guess if you truly got that, you would say, I'm not paying my taxes. I don't know. But then, you know, you're taking money away from people that really need it, you know, so.
Or you do something to like try to promote nonviolence and
Yeah,
peace and no.
But you actively have to do that. You just can't think, oh, well, I have to pay my taxes and then I'm just gonna do anything. So like for me, like I send a letter in with every tax, like, please do not use any of this money that I'm giving you to support your war efforts. Just so that's, for me, that's all that I could do when I'm sending the check in because, I mean, I pay my own taxes, so I have to send them my check, send them quarterly. But like I do that. And then, you know, of course, you know, you're trying to live a less violent life and do what you can to not support violence, of course, but not doing anything is bad because you're just allowing it to go on, you know. So yeah, you careful.
Okay, won't do that anymore.
I mean, you know, animals are stuck in that instinctual, right? It's like their habits are even stronger than ours, you know. Like you can talk to them all day long about you shouldn't kill a thing, and they're still going to go kill a thing, you know. At least we could talk to each other and say it's probably not a good idea. And you could be like, okay, it's probably not a good deal, but then you're going to still be like, oh crap, I shouldn't have done it, you know. But you know, it takes some time, you know. But here, so I just really quick, just because we're talking about it. So killing any living being. So this is the results of doing the non-10 virtues. Includes abortion, suicide, and in parentheses, they're ruining a body that could have reached nirvana in this life, suicide, and participating in the military, even being a cook, as if you shot the gun yourself. It's funny, I just said that, I didn't even read that. So personal result for killing is your life is short and you get sick easily and have little energy. Environmental result is food, drink, medicine, crops, have very little effect and are always inferior, are not nutritious, are hard to digest, and cause disease in you. Most beings around you die before reaching the end of the full life. So you'll see that around you by creating those causes over and over again. That'll be the environmental things, which is interesting. You know, you'll have this food that's supposed to be, you know, like I was just reading today, like we eat rice, you know, because it's a healthy thing. We eat basmati rice, and a friend of mine sends me, you know, an article about all the arsenic in rice nowadays, and like, you know, it's just like, Jesus Christ, you know, like I'm trying to eat something healthy here, you know, so it's like,
Soy.
And they
yeah,
say,
soy.
And they say that the arsenic is really bad from the rice that comes from California.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mainly
cool.
because it's in water a lot, and it absorbs. I read that absorbs into the rice, the stuff that's in the soil and stuff. But it's interesting. So like, you know, it's that, you know, foods, and you see in some, I guess in some countries, like food, drink, and medicine crops have very little effect, are always inferior, and are not nutritious, hard to digest, cause disease. You know, you go to India, you eat food in India. If like we were to go to India, you would eat some food and like you have immediate diarrhea. All the stories I hear of people going to India for retreat or just like a pilgrimage, they're always like, it's just part of going there, you know, like their food for us, you know, will produce an undesirable result in our bodies, you know, which is, you know, we think, oh, it's food, it should keep us healthy, you know, how's it going to make me sick? What do you mean? But, you know, it's just a karmic result of, you know, having
Like
killed in the
India?
past. Huh?
Of the car, like is India's collective karma.
Well, you would say as like what determines when someone is on one line of this imaginary border that doesn't have the food they need to survive, and then the other side of the imaginary, you know, this imaginary line in the earth that says they're, you know, like Mexico and us, you know, just like this imaginary line drawn. People on one side are, you know, starving, dying to death, you know, don't have any money. Over the other side, we're just like, you know, the wealthiest people in the universe are here, you know, so. I would say it's just your karma that decides what, you know, that you're born on that side or you live on that side or on that side. So, yeah, it's everything is, you know, there is a result for everything. Environmental result, where you're born, what area you're born in, whether you're living in Delaware County and you have like, you know, whatever the things that we're presented with here that are problems. I don't know what are around here that are problems.
Opioid addiction.
Oh, you see that a
That's
lot.
everywhere. Now it's definitely heroin.
Well, I just had a kid that one of Lauren's friends that was a close friend just died the other day. We just went to his funeral today from overdose. You know, it's like crazy.
I think the number is staggering. It's gone up. I was just listening to NPR and they gave the stats, and it's like 60% more deaths
Right.
last year.
It's crazy. Ohio, I just read a thing downtown in Ohio that's so bad that they're trying to make it like so much of their budget is being spent on EMTs
Wow.
and
And the
Narcan.
Mhm.
And they said that they're compiling this list of people. The first time they go out and have to give you Narcan, you have to do community service. Second time, you have to do second amount of community service. Third time, they don't give you Narcan.
Wow. Wow.
I think
How would
we
you like to
can
make
get
that
charged
decision?
The second time.
I would not
My
listen to that.
ex-boyfriend
Yeah.
was an EMT.
Yeah.
No,
No.
they're there to save lives.
Exactly. It's,
My husband's police officer, he is in the shirt. He's
Yeah.
done it many times.
I'm sure.
Many times. And the sad thing is, he says, well, they're probably gonna see him again.
Yeah.
So that's the truth.
And do it again. That's what makes it
horrible.
My mom's a nurse, so she sees them all coming in. It's like,
It's like a disease, mental disease. It
yeah.
just takes over.
Once you try heroin, I think it's like you've made a deal.
They said it's worse now, it's because they're
Cause
spending.
they're that bad, yeah.
Well, that's what's killing them. It's the stuff that's in
Yeah.
it. Not that it's a good drug to begin with, but
Right.
it's the
Well,
stuff
it
that's
wasn't
in it.
necessary anesthesia drug.
It's for healing, you know, this is a healing properties.
Right, so in a
People-
sense, it's kind of the same thing.
people
Food,
think-
medicine, and crops that have very little effect or will wind up killing you, that are meant to keep you alive.
Yeah.
It's a
Let's
reason.
face it, people have been using heroin for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, opiate,
But they weren't using, it wasn't mixed with all that
yeah,
stuff.
synthetic, where you go.
So the next one, we'll just go through these real quick. It's always good to review these.
Can you send it to us?
Yeah,
Yeah, that
Uh,
was great.
still-
And what are these that we're reviewing?
just the results of the 10 non-virtues.
Oh, cool.
So there's just the 10 that we went through, and then just the environment. Because we didn't really go, I mean, this is like course 5, where it goes into all these in-depth stuff.
Oh, okay.
But like, we can,
We're getting a preview.
I mean, I think it's important to go through.
I
Just
mean,
there's not
yeah, I
enough
think
time.
it
Yeah.
is, like,
So stealing anything of value includes shady business deals, cheating on rent, taxes, or bills, underpaying what is due to local government or society. So that's a big one. Like, how little can I pay in taxes? How many things can I write off and get away with? Like those type of things, you know.
Working under the table.
Working on the all these things. Yeah, right. So personal result is you don't have enough to live on or to make ends meet, and what you do have is all just common property with others, which is interesting. So you always have to share every, you know, it's like you have a car, you know, you have a car in the family or something, but it's not just yours. You can't just, you know, use it whenever you want. It's like, he's gonna take it today, or, you know. That's an interesting one, and I forgot about that one. We went over that this past weekend when I was at a class, which is interesting. That everything, you don't have anything that's just yours, which is cool, interesting, and that comes from stealing. And then the environmental result is the crops are few and far between. They have no power to remove hunger. They spoil and never come up. Dry spells stay on too long. It rains too much. The crops dry up or die off. So it's interesting. You know, you got to kind of like think about how those connections make sense, but karmically, that's what you'll see in the world around you. And of course, you'll see people without the things they need, and you'll see people stealing things from other people, those kind of things. But about crops, you know, like just the trying to grow food for your family. Like for me, like, you know, I've done the garden, you know, for the past 6 years, and some years it's like really good. Some years it's like, what the heck, you know, like what happened? The thing just dies and it doesn't grow, or I put all these seeds in and then like something comes along and eats them all, or gets too much water, too little water. So you got to think, you know, what is the causes for all these things? You know, they're not just
Just think
happening.
about like some of the African governments where they steal all the money, they don't give the people any of the money.
Yeah.
And then they have like no crops or anything either.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can kind of like when you start
Yeah.
seeing all these, you see like societies that are just kind of built within that framework of that misdeed, which is pretty big. Sexual misconduct, it mainly means adultery, cheating on your partner, a person to whom you are exclusively committed. It also includes some specific secondary behaviors. So personal result, the people who work around you are inconsistent, unreliable, and you find yourself having a lot of competition for your partner. Environmental result is you live in a place where there is urine and feces all around, and mud and dirt, filth, everything stinks, and everywhere seems unpleasant and distasteful, which is interesting. So you would never like really draw that connection. Like, I cheated on my partner last week, but like, you know, now I'm like, my dog's like shitting all over the house, pissing everywhere. Like, what did I do to do that, you know? Which is, you know, like you wouldn't necessarily draw that connection, you know, there.
No way.
So they're interesting.
See, and I know, like, my boss, she did cheat on her husband, and I was one of the freaking only people left. Like, no, whatever. But then the boyfriend died, and it was this whole big saga thing. But she lives in, like, a really beautiful house.
Yeah.
But maybe not. Maybe sometimes inside it is.
Well, you know, if you know, maybe it just, to her, you know, you can have, like, this room could be, like, to me, this room's pretty spotless clean. But Roxy come in here and be like, there's, like, shit everywhere. This place is a mess right now, you know?
Okay.
So it's all perception. You know, you just got to, you know, someone's beautiful house is someone else's, like, this place is a dump, you know? It's all relative, so.
Or
But-
she could have sewer line break or.
She's
Yeah.
had so many things,
Yeah.
bats in her attic, and that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So lying, giving someone the wrong impression about what you've seen, believe, or know, unless it would save someone's life or prevent real suffering. If you lie and get something, the benefit comes from past good deeds and not from the lie. So it's just important to state that, of course. So no one believes what you say, even when you are speaking the truth, and you're always and are always deceiving you. So that one kind of makes sense. But that's interesting too. Like even when you're speaking the truth, like people just, you could be talking you know, you could be teaching people about this stuff, let's say in your life, and you're just like, yeah, whatever. You know, what about the irritating person? You know, you're speaking full on truth, you know, and they're just like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know. Or like, you know, it's like the boy who cried wolf syndrome, or that, right? You tell enough lies, no one listens to you anymore. And then environmental result, your work in cooperation with others fails to prosper, and people around you do not work well together. Everyone generally is cheating one another and is afraid, and there are many things to be afraid of. Yeah, I mean, you have to like.
That's our political system, right?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, We'll just do one more and then we'll go to class. Divisive talk, splitting people out with your talk, saying things to alienate or separate two people, regardless of whether or not your words are true, causing one person to like another person less. It is usually subtle, like in the tone of your voice. Like, oh yeah, he's a great person.
He's amazing.
Like he's great. So you lose friends easily. People around you are always fighting with one another, and people around you have an undesirable character. So this was a big one for me when I first started. Like I just lost all my friends at once. And I was like, what the hell? You know, this is before I even started studying this. And then as I started studying this, it was weird, like the old friends started coming back around. It was like, I pushed them away by, I started being really mindful about my divisiveness. And I was a really bad habit of mine because I was in a band for a while and it's all that the environment was just like, he's a jerk. Yeah. Like it was just like, you just talk crap about one another, don't listen to him, my idea's better, blah, blah, blah. So anyhow, the environmental. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. The ground you live in is split up, uneven, covered with crags and gullies, highs and lows. So travel is difficult and you are always afraid that there are many things to be afraid of. So I would say that travel is difficult. If you hurt your foot, it's going to make your travel a little difficult. So the karma of that would be divisive speech and the hurting coming from, not protecting life. The ground you live in is split up, uneven, covered with crags and gullies, highs and lows. So I guess like more of like maybe a mountainous region, like a desert even region, like really just harsh terrain.
Beautiful.
Huh?
Some people like.
Yeah, some people like it, but it depends on, again, some people live in the mountains and are like, this is terrible here. But basically it's the ground you live in is split up. So maybe like an earthquake is like a result of that. You know what I mean? Like I guess that would be a really big earthquake where the earth actually split open and you couldn't get to the other side or something like that. That's the idea. Maybe like there's rivers everywhere and you can't cross to get over those kind of things. So travel is difficult and you're always afraid and there are many things to be afraid of. But I'll send it to you all. And you should kind of print it out and take it with you everywhere. So let's try to finish this class maybe one of these times. At least this last one. You got something?
You could play a movie from your laptop and then project it through there, like on your wall or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were gonna do like a movie night here, but just never
Oh,
got around to doing it.
documentary night.
There just came in. There just new Dalai Lama documentary just came out.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's not out on DVD yet or Netflix. It's still in the theaters, I think. But, all right. Does anybody remember where we were? Like what we've been talking about or not?
The last couple slides.
No, I know where we were vaguely. I know where we were. We were here. But I'm just curious, have we been so off track lately? So everybody remembers these guys, right? So these are the big problems. And this is what we're this is all going back to what we're trying to eliminate. We're talking about nirvana. We'll try to finish this nirvana thing. So the mental affliction obstacles. The mental affliction obstacles are these things called kleshas, which are just basically, they can be boiled down to three. And I kind of mentioned this last time. I might have misspoke about it, but the three are desire, anger, and ignorance. So it's either you can't live without something. You want this, I gotta have this, the new iPhone, the new this, new computer, this, right? So those kind of thoughts that are constantly disturbing our minds all day long, whether it's, I need dinner, I need this much dinner, I can't wait to have pizza for dinner, or, and then your whole day spent about thinking what's for dinner, or lunch, or I need a new job. Everyone got that, right? Like what grasping is, what desire is. Anger is the other one, like not wanting something, aversion to it, get that away from me. I can't stand this thing. I hate you. Don't like you. You're cool. You're cool. What is that from? Office
Fuck
Space?
you.
Yeah, yeah. What does he say? You're cool, F you.
Yeah, he's like, you're cool, peace them out.
What's that?
So that's like, that's our meditation basically. I think it's from Office Space, was that?
No.
No?
Well, it might have originally been from that, but
No,
like either Chris Rock or
no, a comedy thing.
Dave Chappelle. It was the one that was like all stoned, half baked. There you go.
No. Great one to be referencing during
Desire, anger, and ignorance.
ignorance. Yeah, so ignorance being, just the thing that's going to fuel all those other two. If you have ignorance about, how the irritating person exists, then of course you're going to be angry at them. If you have ignorance about how it is that you get the thing that you want, then of course you're going to be graspy to it. Because if you understand that everything is working through causes, and the only way to get something that you like and desire is to create the seeds for it, to give it to somebody else, then you just do what you have to do and relax about it, and not, you don't need that kind of, oh my God, I can't be happy until I have this thing. I need this, that kind of energy. Like, understanding, having wisdom allows you that to de-stress in that sense. It's like, I just do the thing I need to do and create the causes, and then I just relax because the cause has to come, because things are working causally, cause and effect. So then 4 types of nirvana. So these are just kind of 4 types. If you're reading Buddhist books, if you're hearing talks, like 4 different types of nirvana might be spoken of. It's just kind of important to know what they mean. So natural nirvana is this kind of ultimate truth. It's this, every object has a natural nirvana. And it's basically that we're all born with the potential to achieve nirvana. It's kind of the lack of an essence to ourselves. It's kind of like this thing that's kind of been here forever. It's part of us innately. It's the fact that we're not hardwired is referred to as natural nirvana. We've been calling it also like emptiness. Let's see. So yeah, we're all born with the potential to achieve nirvana. So animals don't have much of a chance to achieve nirvana just because they can't do that analyzation that's required to remove the mental affliction obstacles, right? Analyzation being meditating on emptiness, thinking about having seen the direct perception of emptiness. And in order to get to there, you got to work through those other 2 stages. Remember, accumulation and preparation, understanding emptiness. So you can talk to an animal forever, but they're just never going to get it. So like, we all innately have it, and it's the fact that we're not hardwired. But and even actually 99% of humans don't even have much of a chance. In this world, there's like people that can't frame. They're so mentally disturbed to try to think about these things, or they don't even have the conditions to sit quietly and think about anything, or have these teachings available, or the freedom available to even think about these things. Like in China, right? Like, you can't openly practice Buddhism. I think that was for a while. I don't know if it's changed, but like it was like a law against practicing Buddhism. So it's interesting that to have a society that these ideas that can change your mind forever, yourself forever. Some areas of the world you can't. You're not. It's a law to not. You can't practice them. You can't think about them openly. So if you're born like us, it's just we have an incredible chance. We have the time, money, inclination, etc. So if you're here, you are in the top 1% of humankind.
Kulati.
So, Kulati.
Whatever.
So next one is nirvana with something left over. So this is if like you achieve nirvana in this life, and you still have seeds for this gross physical form that's mortal. Because this, this body is a doomed endeavor too. Like this body that we're perceiving right now, right, made of flesh and bone. The current condition of this, it's not sustainable. It's a cause thing, and the causes will wear out. Because we're born, we have to die in that sense. However, we're looking to change this body into a body of light is the ultimate goal of Buddhism. Change in this very lifetime, like where, right now I put my parts together and I label them as a mortal body made of skin, blood, bones, right, organs. Is it possible to have a different perception of my body? You know, if my body is a caused thing coming from seeds, then highest Buddhism is that I can change the seeds in my mind to perceive an immortal body. They call it a rainbow body. Does that sound far-fetched? Like, it's kind of like, what is that? You know, like, but they say a body made of light, which I think is just a way for us to wrap our heads around what it would be to have this body that's not gross like this, you know, and like hard and falling apart and achy. And but, you know, going into the emptiness again, you know, like my eyeballs are putting my shapes and colors together and putting these parts together and then labeling them in a certain way, right? And then the way that I'm perceiving my body, the body that I have is dependent upon my perception, the seeds in my mind. That force me to perceive a body that's mortal. If I change those seeds, then literally, it's like you change the world, including yourself. If you want to get rid of irritating person, you stop irritating people, you stop irritating others, which will change your perception of the world around you, because there was never irritating people out there coming at you. Everyone got that, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So same with body, you know, there is no body out here the way that it seems to be out here. There is a body, but not the way that it seems. You know, things exist, just not the way that we thought they do. So nirvana was something like that, was where the mind is completely at peace. No more mental afflictions, but you still have the suffering. They call them heaps, which is just the parts of us. There's 4 mental heaps and a physical. The physical body is one of the 4 mental ones. 4 mental, really quick, are feelings, discrimination, consciousness, and then they say the rest of them. So like the rest of them is like the idea mark. They call that a heap. Like, it's not really a physical thing, it's not a mental thing, it's an idea. That makes sense? Maybe? No? Yeah. So we have feelings, we have discrimination.
Just an idea.
Well, you're an idea that functions and that works, and but it's considered one of the 5 heaps.
Ideas can change the world.
Ideas can change the world. That's true. So the physical component goes on, and then nirvana with nothing left over. So you shed the 5 heaps, but you still have subtle seeds for suffering, latent potentialities. We talked about that before. There's still subtle, someone that hasn't achieved full Buddhahood yet, there's still subtle seeds to see things incorrectly. They're not going to ripen. So it's kind of like when you have, let's say you have a handful of watermelon seeds. Like, the seeds are there. The seeds are in your mind stream for seeing things ignorantly, for seeing things as self-existent. But if you took you can't make those seeds go away. So when you reach Buddhahood, it's not like all those negative seeds that you have in your mind stream just disappear. They say your ignorance, your wisdom scorches them. Like if you took a lighter to them and you scorch those watermelon seeds, they can no longer grow. Does that make sense? So they're just scorched. They're there. They're latent potentialities that, you know, they'll never go off because of your wisdom, but they're still there. That makes sense. So wisdom is a thing, even on this, you know, on a level of practice where we're at, you know, studying these things. Wisdom is a thing, like trying to wrap your head around the irritating person. Every time you do that, every single moment of consciousness that you direct towards that idea, the idea of the pen, the idea, you know, of these emptiness ideas, it takes a lighter to all the negative seeds, all the negative imprints you have in your mind stream. It's a way to destroy all the negative karma. It's a huge and that's in purification process. If you're doing your book, the purification process, just meditating on emptiness is a big purification for doing negative deeds because of the power of it. Because it has the power to just scorch those seeds. And maybe one day we'll study it together. But the wheel of life, that wheel of life thing was circular. I know I showed you to before, the monster. The ignorance is part of, there's, I think it's 12 links. There's 12 things around the outside of Brahm, and they kind of work in chronological order that keep perpetuating the cycle of suffering, which is first is like, I don't know this very clearly off the top of my head, but the basic idea is that if you remove one of those links, you stop the whole process from going around. And removing one of those links is is the blind man, and the blind man is like seeing the world ignorantly, is thinking that things are self-existent out there coming at you. So you remove that, then the thing it stops there, you know. So it's like taking those and scorching them. And then nirvana, which does not stay in the extreme peace, does not stay in extreme of peace or extreme of samsara. So this is basically the Buddhahood. And you're not staying in some personalized, chilled out version of nirvana, which in some schools of Buddhism, that's the goal, is to kind of get to this place where you just kind of reach this point where you're just completely at peace in your mind, no more mental afflictions, you removed all them, and you're just happy to stay there, you know, and just bliss out there, and that's the goal, nirvana. Mahayana Buddhism takes it a step further, where you're not staying in the extreme of peace, which would be the nirvana, you know, that their nirvana, where lower schools just say that, you know, that's the goal, and then the extreme of samsara, which is, you know, the suffering life. So you take that next step, and you want to help all other beings get there too. So that's the bodhicitta attitude, the Mahayana path. So three main parts of the method for achieving nirvana. So yeah, what are the elements that we need to get there? So mastery of the extraordinary training of wisdom. So understanding emptiness in a deep way. Everyone should kind of have an idea what that is by now, I hope. If I never share anything else with you, hopefully you get like that irritating thing is stuck in your mind for the rest of your life. And it just irritates you all the time, I hope. So it's the training of wisdom that realizes that nothing has any nature of its own. Any nature of its own. You know what that means, right? Nothing is self-existent. There is no irritating person. That irritating person doesn't have a nature of its own, of being that way. Doing so under the influence of a finely tuned morality and concentration. You need to like be practicing a moral life, because are these realizations caused or uncaused? Caused. Everyone agree? Okay. So if they're causes, then it's just a piece of cake. You just create the causes that you need to create in order to move forward. So the causes to reaching nirvana are, of course, going to come from morality. You know, morality is what's creating those seeds in your mind stream, creating those causes in your mind stream. And then, of course, meditation. You know, having in order to progress through those 5 paths in Buddhism, the big realizations in particular too, they have to be done under in a deep state of meditation, especially the path of seeing, right? Direct perception emptiness. You need to be 9 levels of meditation. You need to be 9 level and above to perceive emptiness directly, where your mind is actually no longer in the desire realm, which is the realm we live in here. So your body's still sitting on the cushion, but your mind elevates to this form realm, it's called. And you enter this different plane of existence in the mind. So you need to get there in order to have a direct perception of emptiness, which is beyond conceptual thought. So you need, of course, concentration in order to achieve the nirvana. Does that make sense? Does that sound like a crazy thing too? So everybody kind of remember the 9 levels, that little chart, meditation. So like basically 9 different levels of meditation that you'll work through in your practice. So, and they're just cause. So, you know, you got to learn what's the thing that propels you to the next stage, and you get to the next stage by learning the antidotes, and kind of what we did in meditation today, trying to be aware, bring the mind back, you know, but develop this awareness, this alert mind, does anybody not get what that meant? Because that can be difficult, but having this awareness that kind of, if you have that and you're trying to focus, you can be more aware of where your mind is. So if the mind decides it wants to go think about the sound it just heard, you're aware of that, and you can say, no, I'm not on my object any longer. So that's going to be the single most important piece that you have to learn to progress through the levels, which is that mindfulness. And then habituating your mind to what you've realized about emptiness. So, you know, so in order to achieve nirvana, you go through direct perception of emptiness based on your morality and based on your concentration. And you have the direct perception of emptiness, and you see the fact that things are not self-existent directly. You see that everything is caused, everything is arising from causes. And then as you leave your cushion, you have to like bring what you realized in meditation to bear in your life, and you start to change. You know, you start to really create some really, really powerful karma to really change your mind forever. Because you don't reach nirvana as you have the direct perception of emptiness. That comes after. You have to habituate your mind to that understanding, to that perception of what you've seen. So it's basically like, you know, when you see the mosquito on your arm and you go like this, it's like you've seen directly that that was the worst thing you can do, but you still have the habit of doing it, right? So the path of habituation is all about, you know, breaking the habit. So, you know, maybe you get that far and then you stop, you know, after you see it, and then you get that far and you're like, you know what I mean? So it's like a gradual, and then you're like, bye. And then just quickly, we'll just go through these 4 results of the Buddhist path. Stream enter, everyone knows what that is. Heard that one yet?
No.
No? Yeah.
Maybe I missed that.
So
4 results of the Buddhist what?
path. So these are just terms that'll come up, like if you're reading books and stuff, but you know, you'll experience these at one point. So stream enter is an Arya. Everyone remember what Arya is? So you enter the stream when you have the direct perception of emptiness. Stream is also could be this can be translated to like conveyor belt, like the thing at the grocery store. You put your thing here, it's going there indefinitely as long as the belt, right? The belt's indefinitely working, and you're on the belt finally going towards the checkout thing, you know. So there's no doubt that you're on your way to enlightenment now, because what you've seen, you know that every single, you know, physical pain or suffering that's ever come to you has come from harming other beings. So like the last thing you would ever do again is harm another being. So indefinitely that will put you on the path of, you're going to protect life more mindfully, and then, you know, so. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking too much about something. I got you. Timer. 3 more. Once returner. So 1 more lifetime to live in the desire realm is what a once returner is. One more life to live in the desire realm. So you'll come back, like after you achieve the goal, you'll come back and you'll have like another rebirth in this kind of body, because you have the seeds for that. So let's say you had the direct perception of emptiness at the end of this life or something. You didn't have much time to habituate your mind to that experience. You would come back in another life, and you know, you would reaccustom yourself to that experience. You'd probably have they say you would have the direct perception of emptiness around the age where you can really kind of understand what it was. And they say like around the age of like 20, 18 to 20 something, 25 is where like if you had it in the past life, it would happen again. So.
But you'd go further.
But yeah, well, you would just kind of pick up, you know, you have all those seeds for knowing the stuff and habituating your mind to it and having that perception. That it's kind of like, then you would take that, I guess ideally that next life to finish it off. Returner, you're in the last life. It'd be like having the perception of emptiness in this life, and you're not coming back to the 6 desire realms again. Like you removed all the seeds for those. And then finally, an arhat. Does anybody remember what that is? Okay. So that just translates to foe destroyer. So it destroyed permanently the enemy. What do you think the enemy is?
Suffering.
Something that creates a suffering. The mental afflictions.
Yeah, your thoughts.
So there's 3 things: the desire, anger, ignorance. So you've permanently removed. So that's nirvana, basically. You become an arhat when you reach nirvana. And that's it. Cool? All right. So the last class is just all emptiness.
What do you mean the last class?
So last class of this course, sorry. No, last class of this course. So, next week, go. So all emptiness, and we'll go through a little bit more in depth, and probably some stuff that we already went through, but you have to hear it over and over again. And then we can finish this, and the next course, if you guys want to do, is meditation. So like learning to all the ins and outs of what meditation is, and according to scripture, and how to progress. And because in my experience, I meditated before I learned how to meditate. Like I would sit and I would learn little pieces here and there in the classes, but until I learned, exactly what the parts of meditation are, what are the obstacles that arise, how to address them, then like I made very little progress. So it's really important.
Cool.
But thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeesh.
So you're talking about